little squall passing by. And it's just kind of funny because the sun's peeking out through the cloud there, but we're getting quite a bit of wind and there's some lightning. The thunder might go off here. No, not yet. No. Here comes the rain. Oh, there's a wall of rain. The wind is not something to worry about with this squall. It's a very slow-moving squall, but there's quite a bit of convection in it, so there's a lot of thunder and lightning, and two of the strikes were probably a little too close for comfort. For anyone that's not familiar, if you're on a sailboat, the mast actually can get struck by lightning, or even if a lightning strike hits close to you, it could travel up through your metal through hulls and damage the electrical in your boat. But if it hits the mast, the current and the high voltage can pass through. It can damage wiring on the boat if you get struck by lightning, and it can also put a hole in your boat. So it's something that's kind of sketchy being on the water, but the chances of that are fairly low, although I have been hit by lightning once. And when I did get hit by lightning, it only damaged a few different things. This was in Guatemala probably 4 years ago. It destroyed my VHF antenna, and then it passed through the through hull down in my cockpit, and it somehow only messed up my depth sounder and the VHF antenna. So I got pretty lucky, but my boat is very basic, so there isn't a lot of electrical that could get damaged. When the storms are like this, I also like to turn off all of my electrical, so it breaks the connection to each piece of equipment. Oh, it's bright out. Hey guys, so on this week's episode, I'm going to be rebuilding my hatches. I might just end up doing this one, or I could possibly get the one behind me, the butterfly hatch, fixed as well. But for sure, we're going to be getting this forward hatch fixed. This hatch is really nice because it creates a lot of airflow down inside where I'm sleeping, but it would be really good for being able to pull sails out of here. However, my old dinghy used to sit on top of it and I wasn't able to access this hatch at all. Now that I bought Dapple, my little sailing dinghy, it's not going to cover this hatch, and I'll be able to actually open this while I'm underway, create a little more airflow on calmer days when the water's not splashing up. But on top of that, there isn't going to be anything covering this hatch anymore. And what I'm kind of worried about is if any big waves were to hit it, it could break apart. This hatch is not very strong. It's only made out of PVC board. It doesn't have any light that comes through. And I've just been, honestly, it was a temporary repair 3 years ago that just stuck. So I haven't been able to get around to fixing it, but on this week's episode, we're gonna put a new hatch in. Surprisingly enough, this hatch actually hasn't leaked at all. As long as it's closed up tightly, even when waves hit it, water doesn't get past the little window seal that I put in here. So I'm gonna end up building the new hatch fairly similar to how I put this one together, but we're gonna use plywood, some fiberglass, and total boat epoxy. So now I've got this piece of 1 foot by 1 foot plexiglass, but I need to find where I need to set this. It'll be exactly in the center of this board. Okay, so I just cut out the bottom piece for the hatch. And as you can see, having the two pieces, I've created a 1/2-inch lip. I'm gonna laminate the two pieces of plywood together so it becomes one, and then I'll be glassing over all of that. Having this Total Boat 5-to-1 epoxy makes it way easier to try to get these jobs done fast, especially with these pumps. It makes measuring the epoxy out really easy. Okay, not the most organized job I've ever done, but this will be good. Tomorrow morning I'll show you guys. Sorry about the light. It's the next morning, so now the epoxy should be fully cured, so I'm going to take the water jugs off and see how it's laminated together. What we're going to do now is cut out the 4 pieces needed for the edges. Okay, I got these pieces cut. I just need to trim them down to size, and then we're gonna just set them along the side here. Something like this. In about 2 hours, I could probably come back up here and take all this stuff down. That'll be after it's dark. But I got this done. Tomorrow, we'll be putting on these corners, and then we're gonna pretty much sand this thing all down into the shape I want it. It is dead calm this morning. And it's always pretty amazing when it's like this. But the reason it's calm like this is there's actually a pretty big storm building north of me. Tonight or this afternoon, there's a possibility for some pretty heavy little thunder squalls coming through here. Might not happen, it's hard to tell. I should have recorded myself putting Dapple up on deck, but I moved her up onto deck because I just wasn't super confident in how much wind this storm's going to produce. The weather radar shows a pretty bad storm north of me, and it's all coming down. There's actually, it could be the second named storm of the season that's just developing right off Jacksonville, Florida right now. So there's a chance some pretty heavy wind comes down throughout the night. Pretty confident in my Rockna Vulcan anchor, but I'll sleep better if Dapple's not in the water. Being in Florida during hurricane season is not the best thing to do, but out of circumstance I'm here, so I'm just gonna have to deal with consequences and these things when they happen. Well, now the storm's passed and there's no wind, but it's raining a little bit. And I'm kind of wanting to go to shore, but then I'll be going in the rain, so maybe this will stop in a little while. or I'll just throw on a raincoat and row myself to shore here soon. I think I'm gonna go in. It's very calm. Look how nice Dacia looks. When I was in Guatemala, I had my 10-foot rib and a 20 horsepower outboard, and it was very convenient. I normally was the one that was giving people rides from A to B sometimes, and some of my friends had instruments that needed to be moved around. It was always really nice to have the dinghy in order to do stuff like that. But one of my friends, they had a rowing sailing dinghy also, and I remember one day I asked him if he wanted me to pull the dinghy and give him a tow back to their sailboat. And his response was, well, right now we're in the midst of a ton of projects, everything is super chaotic, and honestly, being in the dinghy is the only part of my day where I'm forced to slow down. So he really told me he really appreciated the moments he had where he could just sit there and row, take his time. And I'd already been contemplating buying a rowing dinghy pretty much since the moment I bought Dacia. But because of circumstances and the way my life was a couple of years ago, I ended up with a lot bigger dinghy. And now that it's just me again, I've had my eye open for this. And that comment kind of really solidified my decision. And it's been a couple months now since I bought this, and I have not regretted it even a little bit. Some people might think that it gets a little bit boring and it's more work, but I don't see it at all like that. It's exactly like what my friend told me. It's a moment to just be present and to slow down. There's a fridge, a small fridge by the looks of it, floating right here. Another convenient thing about having the other dinghy is I can move things like this a lot easier. But I'm going to try to with little Dapple. I'm just going to try this. See if I can pull it into the garbage. Now I have to lift this and take it over to the garbage. So this has been in the water for a long time, and the little storm that just passed must have blown it out of wherever it was, because look at all the growth on the bottom of it. this area I'm at is actually where I bought Dacia. It's kind of sad seeing the state it's in now. It was not that great 6 years ago, but it's quite a bit worse now. And seeing all this neglect and trash really irritates me. But at least that's out of the water now. The main reason I came to town today was actually just to get some caffeine. I ran out of some of the stuff that I drink on my boat. So yeah, it's a good excuse to get some exercise. Alright, we're back. It's funny because with my old dinghy I could get to shore and back in about 5 minutes. Now I think it's closer to 40. But like I was saying, it's great. This place is a mess. It is always a mess. Because I'm a very bad cleaner sometimes. So I'm a little bit ridiculous, and I completely stopped recording after I did the front edge and epoxied that down. But what I've done is now put the corners in. So today we're gonna clean this off and soak it so it becomes completely waterproof using the epoxy. And then what I'm gonna do is lay up glass, 2 layers of glass on the top, and maybe curve it around the edge a little bit. And what that'll do is help with some impact resistance. If I only soaked it in epoxy, if anything were to ever get dropped on here, it could split the epoxy and then allow water to get in and slowly damage the plywood. Start with 8 pumps. So now that I've laid up the glass and epoxy on the hatch, I want to talk to you about the epoxy that I've been using for this project. It's actually this Sailboat 5:1 epoxy resin, and I've worked with Sailboat a lot over the years. Back when I was in Guatemala, I was working with them, And recently I actually reached out to Total Boat and asked them if they wanted to help support the channel and help me work on this specific project, and they sent me this gallon of epoxy. So thank you, Total Boat. And more exciting news is I've now started a partner program with them. So if you guys go in the description and click the link, it'll take you over to their website. You can get a 5% discount on any other products using that description in the link. So if you guys do that, it actually helps me out a lot. And this is the first time I've ever partnered with anyone before, and I'm super happy that it's Total Boat because I do a lot of boat work on my boat. Total Boat has a lot of products that I need, and yeah, thanks Total Boat. I'm so bad at this stuff. Back to the episode. Now I'm pretty much just filling all of the little imperfections that I see. I think that might be good enough. I don't know what happened there. It shut off maybe? Or I just forgot to record, but we just got the first coat on. Now I have to drill the plexiglass, which can be a little sketchy because there's a chance it could crack. And if it cracks, I'm kind of screwed. Let's hope they don't crack. Now I've got all the corners cut out, and we're going to be putting non-skid over this, all the white that you see. So the Sikaflex. I have a tiny little tube of Sikaflex left. Hopefully I have enough here, and hopefully it's still good. We're gonna have to cut it open and run a bead around the edge here, squish on the plexiglass, and hope that it seals up nicely. It's almost no good, so hopefully I can get it to work. Freaking hot out. So all this effort, and we did end up running into a little bit of an issue there. When I put down the Sikaflex, it was old Sikaflex, and I knew that I might have a problem, but I was trying to use it, and it didn't fill the gap between the hatch itself and the plexiglass. So when it squished up, there was some voids, and I was trying to squish it in, and it just was messy. And then because it was already half cured, the acetone wasn't breaking it down, so that kind of made it look crappy too. And now when I go to paint here, it should be fine, but I'm gonna need to buy some more Sikaflex tomorrow. It should be sealed up enough to not be a problem. But just to make it look a little nicer, I will want to try to clean up this gap. Yeah, that kind of sucked. Now we're gonna put on the next coat of paint. I think I'm happy with that. It's the first Sunday of August tomorrow. So if you're watching this, this is real time. I'm getting this project done on Saturday and uploading on Sunday. So I'm very close on my timeline at the moment, and I'm hoping to be able to continue getting content out each week. We'll see, but next week's episode might be how I sail on and off the anchor. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Wow, it's finished. Well, pretty much finished. The bottom isn't painted, and I still need to attach this guy and these guys. But the hatch is done. Thanks for watching.